Days, 24 All-Stars, 2 co-hosts, and 1 podcast. This is your host, Poody, and this is another season of Austranded Red Center. This is our 39th season, kind of hard to believe. And in 3 days, it will also be Stranded's 14th anniversary. So appropriate timing for a season to start. We're also joined by Nofo. I don't know who they're co-hosting as. Everyone's getting an alias, so I'll have to learn that.
I'm playing as how do you pronounce this?
I just know her last name is Troyanova.
Yeah, it's Yana Troyanova.
Sure. And we're also joined by Danny, who will be playing as
Nico from
Nico. Okay.
I know that Africa. I would also just like to state for the record that this is being co-hosted by the Best Alliance from Austranded 1.
So we both went pre-merge.
We were iconic, though.
Oh, I loved Austranded 1.
So yeah, Austranded 1, one of our best seasons. I'm not going to spoil where it is in the ranking, but incredibly high. So much so that we're doing it again. It's a successful experiment. This season will be a little different because everyone knows the deal going in, or will know the deal going in. The first season, of course, we kind of surprised it on you guys. You might have figured it out midway. But this time going into the season, everyone knows that this is an all-stars, and it's going to be a bit of a guessing game. I've described it as kind of, in my head, I'd like it to be The Circle meets Survivor meets The Masked Singer. So a bit of a guessing game, some memory. Unfortunately, James is not in this season from Isolated. He would have been great at this guessing game.
Oh, he'd be trying to figure out how to hack into our Google accounts.
Let's not give him too much credit. Build up the ego.
He's got enough shit for that, I think.
Oh yeah, I should not be joking about that.
I think, this season, it's kind of hard. Everyone's going back to work from COVID, so we got a lot of no's from that. But we got some surprise yeses, enough to make an interesting cast. And of course, we have 38 seasons of people to pull from. So, I think the beauty of Austranded in general is that we get to see a mix of different players, and it doesn't really affect the game. If this was an open ID, if you had players that were huge names, they'd be instant targets, so it wouldn't really work. But here, everyone's kind of on a level playing field.
Yeah, and just, one of the great things, having played in a season like this and having played in some other games that try and do the aliasing with All-Stars, but then wind up revealing, personal relationships in All-Star games play so much into it. And so I really found in Austranded 1, it was one of the most exciting games to watch because you had so many people who knew each other, didn't know who they were playing against, and it led to the best pairings and the most exciting end game.
Yeah, I think it's more interesting because, you're not strangers, but you also don't know who you're building these relationships with. So it is very genuine and very raw in that regard. And I think that's more interesting than, going into a newbie season of Stranded where you don't know anyone. So it is completely fresh. I think it's very interesting to see that kind of dynamic in what we will be seeing this season.
And, we've seen in the past couple of newbie seasons, obviously we bring in some people from Stranded into Isolated, Isolated into Stranded. There is ID guessing going on. People are listening to the podcast. They are trying to figure out who might be returning for a different experience. And so I think it's interesting. Let's play into that. Let's see if we can make that part of the bigger game and see if we can incentivize people to hide their identities. Because certainly we don't want people, ganging up with a bunch of their buddies and steamrolling. I think it's much more interesting if we have people trying to obscure their identity and playing to their strengths. So we have a lot of people to go through. Before we get into that, I'll just explain how this season is going to work. So we will be revealing people after they're voted out. I'll have a cool little reveal video, so they will know. We're also doing a quiz at the end of each round, which will be an ID guess. And they're going to be able to guess who they think the people in their tribe are. If they're correct, they will get a coin. If someone correctly guesses who they are, they will lose a coin. So a bit of a push and pull to this season. On top of that, we have another twist, which I guess we'll talk about at the end. It's not as important just yet, but a lot of things to play with this season, kind of dipping our toes in the waters of, okay, this season, everyone knows what the game is. They know that it's going to be All-Star. So let's see what that is. So I casted this season purposely knowing that. I think we have half the cast is pre-season 30 and half is post. So it's a pretty good mix. And I don't think there's too many people that know each other too well. And that's on purpose. So let's go. Should we go in reverse order or like start with the newest people first? Let's do that.
That's just yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's start with the isolated. We have Jen coming hot off of isolated espionage. Nofo has said he refuses to talk to Jen this season, which I think is fair.
I don't want to be mean in this podcast because I do like her as a person. She is just incredibly frustrating, and she knows that she's frustrating to me.
She asks a lot of questions.
This will be, in my opinion, for all of the people who have kind of lurked. So your Matts, your Tommies, your Karas. This is going to be the person that I think is going to get clocked right away if she is on a tribe with anybody who's been in the lurker server for the last few months. Just because she can't help but be herself.
Especially when she logs on at 5 a.m. and messages every single person in the game with, or every single person in her tribe with the same comment.
Yeah, this is one. We kind of avoided people like this, but she's definitely one that is a very distinct personality that will probably get clocked. But she's a loose cannon, so that was on purpose. Like, it's not as important that she hides her ID in my eyes, you know?
Yeah.
She's playing as Christy, which is a perfect comparison for her, in my opinion. Christy was a very interesting player in Australian Survivor.
Maybe Jen will pull out a win.
You could only hope.
I have no idea what to expect from her. I know she's going to flop at challenges, but I'm wondering if people are going to carry her as kind of like a Jillian, well, Kelsey.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a possibility, but, you know.
She's very social, at least. I'd like for her activity to be up. If she can show up to the challenges and vote,
well, they're not live.
That's right. That's true. She can do them at 7 a.m. or whenever she's awake. Let's move on to, let's do the other isolated person while we're on the subject. A little older of a season, so he knows more of the players. But Matt from Isolated 5, he came in second place there. He'll be playing Ross. Matt, we know as just kind of a likable guy, pretty good at the game, I would say. But we didn't see much more than that. I'd be interesting on his second outing how he does now that he's kind of gotten the vibe of the server and everything.
I think I'm actually really interested to see how he's going to play with Jen, because they both have very public posts where they both talk about going to Black Lives Matter rallies. So I don't know. I kind of combine them in my head because of that connection. And I love Matt.
Matt's one of those people where you have a conversation with him and you're not sure if he's like following you in the convo. He just kind of, he'll toss out some random stuff. And, you know, I mean, I really like him. He's very likable, very easy to get along with. But sometimes I just wonder if we're having the same conversation.
Yeah, he's one of those people, though, that like he's just low key enough where like he's not going to be anybody's target early on in the game. You know, like he's one of those people that if I had to put money on somebody making a merge, he would definitely be somebody that I'd just be very inclined to bet on, because he's a safe personality with weird stories. He's a personality that people get along with. Like, I just think people are going to like talking to him, like playing with him the same way that they did in Isolated. Like he was just friends with everybody, and that gets you so much further than you expect.
He's one of the few people who I think can play well both in Isolated and Stranded. I think he's like that middle of the road type of player, but also very social, which is a skill you need in both games. So I could definitely see him going deep.
I put him as Ross, who's kind of like the lovable goof on his season. I think that's accurate. I think that's more accurate to Matt than Matt Hoffman.
Even though that is his actual name.
Yeah.
I did suggest to make him another Matt, but you know that would have been a little too obvious.
It's going to get so confusing. Up next, we have Hope coming hot off of Stranded 2 our 28th season. Hope was high on my list of people I wanted to return. She made Final 6. She really killed it as a newbie. Of course, that season we had a lot of people who were very experienced and she was not, but she still held her ground. She's one of the people who's most excited to come back. And I think she was a no-brainer for me when I was casting. She'll be playing Daisy, which I think is a good match. What do you guys think of Hope?
I love Hope.
I'm really excited.
she was such a sleeper threat in Tuamotus where, like, she had never played an orc before, and you could definitely tell throughout the first half of the game that she was really just trying to figure out how things worked. There are a couple moments in those early stages of the game where she very easily could have found herself voted out if things, shifted one way or another. But as soon as she got to the merge and kind of figured out how she stood with the rest of the cast and how the game was played and kind of how you had to approach planning a vote and lying to people, but not lying too much, like, I just think that having that season under her belt is really going to set her up well here.
I think her only flaw is just that she hitched her wagon to Jess instead of Michael and Matt. I think she probably could have made Final 3 if that had just been a little different.
I think she runs deep here. I'd be surprised. I mean, she could be like a throwaway early vote, but
well, she's a strong player.
Yeah, she's very likable, very strategic, and I think having a little bit more experience is going to do very well for her. If not here, then in the future for sure. But I think she's got a good shot coming in.
But I also like with the metagame, I don't think she's someone who's going to be alias guest. No. She might be, but like, because there are a lot more low key players. But she's not.
If she's on a tribe with Tommy and uses the word literally, he'll guess her though. That'll be her tell.
True.
Tommy's going to be the best at alias guessing, which we might as well bring up Tommy. He's next on the list. From Tanzania, of course. Tommy is playing Matt Rogers. I think I'm most looking forward to Tommy after that rematch because he's so aggressive now in his gameplay. And I'm very excited to see how that plays out. I don't think he'll win, but I think he's going to go very far and be a very big character this season. He's also told me like he's going all in on the alias thing. Like he's pretending to be someone else from Stranded. He is already trying to figure out who might be playing. I mean, he is going in on that. And he's being very honest. I know from talking to some other people who were friends with him, he's very much like playing it above board. So I'm excited for Tommy.
And you're also not playing, so he can't betray you and piss you off.
That's right. Yeah. But you see where that got him. So, rematch, just betray me and you might get a call back for another season.
Yeah. Tommy is somebody that I'm really excited to see back, especially because I think if there's one thing that he learned in Tanzania being, a single vote away from the final 3, like he was set to win that game and he had played the least aggressive, the least offensive game you could probably play. He had like one flip and didn't really even take too much lashback for it. I think, though, that having now lurked a season of Stranded and a season of Isolated and having talked with people, he realizes that, in order to win, you need to be a little bit more aggressive, as we've seen in Rematch. And I think that he's really going to bring all of that to the table here. We know that he crushed the teens in the Discord orgs, which, doesn't tell you a lot about how you're going to do in Stranded, but he definitely has the potential. And I think he's going to bring it out here.
Yeah, he's going to be playing very hard. Let's go ahead and talk about Kara. Kara's back. She's playing Casey. Kara, Queen. Of course. Yeah, so she, of course, made Final 3 in Tanzania and came in second place. Almost won.
This is another isolated person, by the way.
Yes, that's true. I think, hopefully Kara, this is like the right move for her because I think if she came back open ID, she's an instant target. I don't think people are putting up with her. People from her season don't really enjoy playing with her too much. She definitely beats her own drum.
Yeah, she's very much a solo person. She's not going to just go along with a clique.
Yeah, so I think that Alias is perfect for her. I think this is another shot where I can't see her not making merge, but Austranded's so different. There's so many people that are taking advantage of the Alias, or so they say, to either play a bigger personality, to do things that they didn't do the first time. And we saw that in the first one. So I think the Alias plays a lot into it. And they know like this is for fun. So I would like to play a bigger personality. I could see that happening for a lot of these people.
I think what worries me about that is I'm worried that some people are going to overplay, which is fun for us. Like it'll absolutely be interesting if they overplay or focus too hard into that Alias aspect, which I know I did because, you spoiled the season for me. I knew going in and that really hurt me a lot knowing what I knew. Yeah. And I overthought it and I overplayed it and I'm expecting some people to do the same thing I did.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting. I think this is the true test of the longevity of Austranded, I think, how it works now. And I think we have to adapt it to be different. But I still think people are going to take advantage of this and use this as an opportunity to be someone else. someone other than what we know them as. So let's go ahead and shift on to the final Tanzanian. Vince was the second boot that season. Who's playing Baden.
Hold on,
That's perfect.
Can we talk about this game I was just in and like all this stuff and all these people I hate?
Yeah. One of the more annoying people we've ever had, which we live for. Vince was definitely someone who I had on my radar to bring back, but didn't really know the right time. Tuamotu's wasn't it. I think Austranded's it, though. I think this is the time to give it a shot, because why not? You know, it's all Alias. Let's throw some wild cards in there, see what happens.
I have absolutely how this is going to go for him. There are a couple people I don't know, but like one that I have absolutely no clue.
I'm super excited. I love that. You know, I think that's what makes this fun. So we have no idea. We don't have much to talk about. We just know he was very annoying. He couldn't let go of the fact that he got like screwed out of coins or something, and that's why he got voted out. So we'll see.
We'll see what happens with him.
He was at youth group. He was at youth group at church. That's what screwed him over. He missed it.
It'd be hard to do worse.
True.
So that's Baden. Let's move on to, we have 3 from Kuril Islands, but that's, you know, these 3 players are not on the server all the time, so I don't think that'll be a huge problem. Up first, we have Susie Queen playing Kylie, which I think is a perfect fit. She's obviously one of our top all-stars, someone that we've been dying to bring back, and this is finally the opportunity. She's already begun researching, and she's all in on this season, so Susie is someone I'm very excited to see play again. I think she brings a lot to the table, along with, you know, diversity of age, but she also brings like a lot of a different perspective and a lot of social game that some of the other players don't have.
Susie is always someone you can count on to go all the way in. She is going to put her all into the season, and we're probably going to see more innovations, like when she went on Reddit asking about the idol clues. So I'm really excited to see if she'll do something similar.
I mean, she's iconic in anything she does, but
she's a queen.
She was telling me she went to find gifs of Kylie for the season and joined her fan page on Facebook and had a conversation with her, the actual player.
I love her.
Because of course she did. And she was like, you know, the funny thing was, I think she was the president of her own fan club. Susie, aren't we all?
The best part is too, Susie is just such a positive person that even when things aren't going her way and she's frustrated, she's nice to everybody. She's not going to be like, she's like the opposite of like our other favorite people in Stranded. Like you either love the people who are just like a full on like asshole, or there's like the Susie who is like, yeah, we may have voted differently, but I'm still going to have this great conversation with you because I really like you. And like just a positive attitude, never gives up, is always going to try and find a way to go further. And I'm excited to see how she does.
I've never once heard anyone have anything negative to say about Susie.
No, and she's great.
I mean, like, Eric and Chris did in that season, but that was just because they suck.
They don't count.
Maybe Randy too. Yeah, I mean, that's the good thing about Susie. She's also not afraid to get her hands dirty, and you know, she's in on the joke. She's not like she's not totally above the mudslinging and everything. She wouldn't do it, but she's not like completely put off by it. So I enjoy that too. She enjoys watching as well.
She's an all-star lurker.
Yes, that is true. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the people she played with who are also returning. Up next is Maddie, who's playing Henry. He's someone who overplayed his hand, got caught talking to too many people and went out. He was a slow burn that season, but when he did kick in, he really became a big character. And then he kind of fizzled out and hasn't been part of the community anymore. So he's one that I'm excited to see if we can rekindle that magic that he had towards the end of the game, but this time like in the beginning of the game.
Just has such manic energy. Like he would be, because he was one of the ones that Joaquin had to yell at in that men's tribe that just like wasn't showing up because they were winning everything and never really had to strategize. And then when he finally did came in, took big swings. He's the whole reason that Aurora went home when she did, because he turned her and Reem against each other. And then like problem was he was just messy, sloppy. And then when he got called out, he really couldn't, find his footing and find his way back in with anybody, and just lost because of it. So if he can even just like pull it together a little bit, maybe not be such a mess, and he's his little outbursts, I think he could do well.
It's asking a lot. Also joining us is his more successful counterpart, Randy, playing as Harry, who I'm very excited about. Randy delivered from moment one and then continued delivering.
Yeah, from the second he went in with that video confessional of him on a bike, or he was out, or whatever. I don't know. I just love him.
Yeah, no, he's fantastic. He's another one that we were waiting for the right time to bring back. and he's super excited to play. So I think these Kirill people, I think they'll do pretty well this season. Underrated, I think. Randy's not one to like kind of get his hands dirty, and he likes being a little sneaky. So this is probably a good season for him, being that you have to be a little sneaky on this one. Let's go ahead and talk about the next person, Alec, who I love. I've brought back for Isolated. Nofo was not as high on, apparently. He'll be playing as Laki. He is from Morocco, our favorite season.
Well, I don't remember him.
He was kind of like he was a douche bro. He went out early in the merge, but he kind of overplayed, which I love. So I'm really excited to see how he does. I'm hoping he'll be in like another Drew, given another opportunity. I don't know if he's got that good of a game, but I think he's got more than what we saw. So I'd like to see him play again. He was one of the few from Morocco that I think fit this season, given that we used up most of the Moroccans in the first Austranded. But he's another one that I would like to see again. So we're throwing him in here, hoping for the best. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, I liked Alec the first time he played. He was one of like those early like Ziggy betrayals in the merge. Like, the Kellen and Chelsea boots were like whatever at the Morocco merge. But then like you hit Mike and Alec, who they were in like a really tight alliance with Ziggy and Gabby in their minds. And he just got burned so badly with an idol in his pocket. I think he's going to come in here with a lot to prove. Obviously, he played Isolated, like did okay, like not great, but he was also part of like a weird twist. So, like, I think this is definitely somebody that is going to come in with something to prove, with a little bit of chops to back it up. So I'm excited to see what he does.
Let's go to our next person, who is the final post 30 player, someone who I'm very excited to see again, someone from your original season, Danny.
Wait, did we skip Donnie?
Oh, we sure did. Fuck. I forgot there was another Moroccan. Sorry, Donnie.
We love you, Donnie. We're going to cut this out so you never know about this.
Yeah. So Donnie obviously has been a huge part of our community, but he almost won against Ziggy in Morocco just from being incredibly likable and I thought playing well. I thought Donnie would have deserved to win had he won. But since then, he's played in a lot of games. He's played in a lot of rematches, a lot of mini games, and he's done incredibly well in all of them. So he's someone who I think...
He's someone who's very social.
Yeah,
and very easy to talk to.
He's very funny. His first season, we didn't really get to see all that because he was kind of getting his feet wet with playing the game. Now he knows the drill. It's like 3 or 4 years later. So it's been so long. At this point, I'll be interested to see how he does. I think Donnie did incredibly well the first time. This time, I think he'll be a bigger name after this. I think people will remember him more after this performance because I think he's a lot better.
Oh, definitely.
He's a lot better than people.
I really hope so. He's one of my favorites. Like, honestly, he is the classic example. If Ziggy would have lost Morocco and Donnie had won, he would have been like the perfect example of somebody who played with a big shield, who was kind of an asshole. Everybody hated him, and he's the likable alternative. And it fits his personality. Like, that's a game that he can pull off, and it fits with him. It's not going to be a letdown because you like the person enough. And I think that if he can bring that same energy and personality to this season, it'll be great. And he's playing as Michelle, who's like an all-time Australian stranded character or Australian survivor character. And I just cannot wait. I think he's going to crush it.
I love Donnie. I think, everybody loves Donnie. He's great. What did he say in his first interview? I forget, but it was something like he's a concept or something.
A concept. He's not a person. Yeah. Evolved beyond gender too.
That's what I was gonna say. This season, of course we asked gender, but given the current times, we leave a blank to let them fill it out. And Donnie he has evolved beyond gender, which I thought was hilarious, but also like pretty poignant. So I guess I don't know what his pronouns are, but he's evolved beyond those, I think. So Donnie is a concept. That's all we can say about Donnie. If we're playing as Michelle, I think that's a good fit for him. That's also the fun thing about Austranded is some people who wanted to be different genders get to play with that. Like, people who thought they might have done better if they were playing a female alias or a male alias, whatever. I don't think that matters so much, but some people do.
I can't remember. I can't remember the last time I played as a male alias. I don't know.
So that'll do it for we have one more. I got thrown off. So we have our final post 30 player, someone that Danny played with on his original season, Brian, who was rocked out of the game and has never shut up about it.
Such a meme at this point. Brian is he's a huge personality. He's kind of a meme on the Stranded server. If you ever want to go and look through Poody's pastas,
Yes, he's got a million
you can get a good
pastas.
sense of how he felt about his exit in our season. But he was one of my really good allies that season. Definitely overplayed, has no fear of playing hard. I think after his last showing in Stranded, I know he's big in Orgy, so I think that he's going to come in and really want to prove himself. And I think it's going to set up for a good, my opinion, somebody who's going to be like a flame out in the pre-merge. But if he gets some footing, I could see him doing well.
He's gonna be smart.
But I think he's going to come in playing hard.
He's someone I've been asking every time we do some kind of any returning players. I ask him first. So he finally agreed, and I couldn't be happier. He'd be playing Jericho, and I'm glad you mentioned Orgy. We haven't been able to talk about it just yet because we don't have any other players in post 30 that are from Orgy, but they're used to these Alias All-Star games. It's like all that they do over there. So they'll bring a fun energy to this, I think, particularly those who might play up a shtick a little bit. I think that Austranded harkens back to like those old org games. So that's what's fun about it for me.
Well, to clarify, it's so insular that every single game over there has the same cast.
Right.
It is basically Alias
Right.
All-Star.
So, this is my, and those games are great. I think people enjoy.
Oh, that's not a dig. They're fun.
No, I mean, it's just a different, it's a different kind of thing. And we're borrowing a little bit from that. So, it's a lot of fun when you get to play up a certain aspect of your personality and go for it. So that's Jericho. We're going to have some more of those as we get down this list. But let's move into the pre-season 30 people. Up next, we have Nadia from season 27. It's been a long time since she's played. But when she did, she was an absolute queen, dominated the game in challenges, and played pretty well socially and strategically. She's a force in any game she's in. So I'm excited to see her. Nobody really remembers her too well except the people that played with her. So I think she's going to shock some people. They don't know what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard good things about Nadia. I mean, half the played within my season, and she's always a topic of conversation when they talked about. So I actually get to watch her play before. So as also a perfect.
Yeah. And as a good transition, someone else from her season who played with Danny in Turks and Caicos again is Drew, who will be playing as David the Golden God. I'm so excited for Drew. I think Drew, unfortunately for Drew, he was in a season with Lucy. So it was like neck and neck. It came down to that final immunity challenge, and both of them played like a really dominant game all season.
And he would have fuck up the rules,
Yeah. Yeah. Is Danny breaking up for you, Nofo?
Yeah, I was wondering if it was me. That's why I wasn't talking during
Nadia.
Nadia.
You're breaking up pretty bad. Drew, I think Drew is going to do really well. He does well every time, but he was like another level in Turks. He became like one of our best players of all time, I think. So I'd love to see what he does here. He was one of the people I was like most excited. If he had said no to this, I might have reconsidered it. Let me just put it that way. Like when I was thinking of this season, he was one of the ones that I was like, I would like to have him, and along with some others. But very excited for Drew. I think he's highly underrated.
Well, he says he thinks he's going to be a huge character who's also going to win. So we'll see how that stacks up.
I mean, it worked for Joaquin in the first Austranded. Maybe that's an Austranded thing.
I think that's the key.
We don't need another Indonesia winner.
Hey, that's true.
Honestly, it's true. Yeah. But as somebody who was misted hardcore by Drew in my season, I'm really excited to be able to watch him do it to somebody else. And I really hope that he's able to put himself in another power position.
However, I would love to see Dale in Dale's face.
Yeah, true.
Okay, I think I'm Team Drew now. Let's
go ahead and move on to the next person on the list. Someone we know very well, has played in a ton of games, and is also a valued member of the community. Flicka, who'll be playing as Ben. He was, of course, in. He's such a weirdo. He was in Faroe Islands. If he wins, he would be one of 3 winners from that season. So it would continue a long-standing tradition.
4? That is honestly just so weird.
Yes, Cass, Mookie, and
he would
Kenner.
be one of 4. That's right. And he was almost Stephanie from last season. That season, they got some good players in that season.
excited. He's just going to be full on personality. And I think that that's going to be a nice break. We have a lot of people who are really hardcore strategists here and play really hard. And I think Flicka will be the perfect break from that, of somebody who's, going to get in good with people, but is also just going to have the weirdest conversations to read as you go through messages. Like,
oh, I just read his app. He says he wanted to play with me. I love Flicka.
Flicka's great. And, I just like having Flicker around. Like, I would cast him just to get to talk to him again and have him part of the community still.
Maybe I'll winner pick him like I did in ISO 4, just for the walls.
That didn't turn out too well. Hopefully this is a better experience. That was like his worst performance. Anyway, up next we have someone who I think no one remembers or has heard of, is Artis, who played in Nepal. But he also played in Second Chances, and both times he was incredibly strategic and very aggressive, but went out like mid-game. So I'm expecting that again. I'd be surprised if he goes very far, but I think he's interesting just for that reason. He's a huge strategist. He lives on the Survivor Reddit. You always see his name pop up over there. So he's someone who I've thought about bringing back, didn't have the right time, like a couple of these guys, but now is the right time.
Yeah, I don't have much memory of him, but I think this is going to be fun. I think, what we've seen from Rematch so far, it should be pretty fun.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of this, is like we can get people who we don't really remember, who hadn't played in a long time, or who maybe, flopped their first time, but really want another shot and will do something totally different. And this is their shot. So that's what I enjoy about Austranded. Up next, we have two people from your original season, Nofo, going all the way back to Stranded in Venezuela, season 19. We'll start with Sean Rector, who is playing as Tessa. This time he wanted a female rep because he started playing Sean and going out early pre-merge.
Very unfortunate. I love him. I just don't know why things didn't work out for him the next 3 times, because he was such a good player.
He was fantastic. In Venezuela. Yeah. He had the idol. He bluffed I think he found 2 idols. He was crazy. He was he was the threat that season.
I don't know. Maybe it was just, a fluke.
Maybe. I mean, we're about to find out. Times. If he doesn't do well this time, it's over. I think it's a wrap.
Well, I think he'd be at peace with that.
But it's super exciting having someone back from that long ago. Shade on Nofo, but also just getting to see a different side. And he wanted to play a female this time, which I think is probably a good call for him. Time to try something different because it was broken before. Joining him, also from your season, was your good ally and friend, or wasn't in that season, but later on.
We were not good allies or friends, but I've known him for so long. I've known him for 10 years.
A true weirdie. I think our first ever video confessionaler. I think.
Oh yeah, he I think you said it was one of the first. It
might have been Creepy Kobe, but I want to say he was the first one to do it in a season. So old school, we're talking old Nofo old. So I'm super excited for Gabriel, who will now be playing as Gerard. He's a weirdo, man. He's into drugs. Yeah. He's very out there. He's a good second fiddle to a villain. That's what he does every time.
Yeah. Oh wow, I forgot about him and Patricia.
Yeah, and then I think he did it again.
I hated them. I hated those. I think
he did it again with Sophie, huh?
Oh yeah, but he does not want to play with Sophie this time.
Yeah, he mentioned that in his app. I don't think anyone does, frankly.
I love Sophie. Sophie and I got along so well in Revenge.
Oh, she's an absolute queen, but totally bad shit. So we'll see how he does here. I don't know. He's begged to come back. He's an old school player, so.
Well, I fought for this. I think he does. I think he deserves the chance.
Yeah. Again, this is the season to take a gamble on some players that have been wanting to come back, but we hadn't had the right time. So let's see what you got. Up next, we have from season 17, Mia, who will be playing as Queen Janine, which is so appropriate. Mia, of course, is a legend in Stranded, one of our best players, but also biggest characters. She, of course, tried to sneak on.
Also important to note that Sean was like went to school with him. Like might have been Mia's RA or something.
Yes, that's true. Mia referred Sean to play in Venezuela, and they've played together in All Stars, but they've never like been on the same tribe or ended up working together. And I don't know, they might not even keep in touch anymore. You know, it might have been 10 years since they've.
Well, yeah, it has been a long time.
So we don't know, but they'll be both playing in this. Mia infamously, I think, you know, the biggest thing you could talk about Mia is how he played with Cochran. He was Cochran's biggest foil in Marquesas, which is one of my favorite seasons, and just was a dominating bitch. I mean, to put it as bluntly as possible. And he said that, you know, he's like, I'll only come back if I can play a C word, we'll say. So I said, sure, have whoever you want, anyone you want. So I think this is gonna be a lot of fun. He's now 33. So
what?
Yeah, it's a
no way.
I mean, I'm almost 32, so
there's no way.
We getting old.
I was gonna say, off of this cast, Mia is probably the person that I've heard the most about that I've never like actually seen play. Mostly just because you guys always talk about how much of a legend he is. So I'm very, very excited for that one.
Oh, he's
insane. Mia is insane.
He's crazy.
Like, so frustrating to play with, but so fun.
Yeah, I mean,
do you remember when he applied for Coral Islands and thought we wouldn't notice?
Yes.
Oh yeah. But then again, I wouldn't have known that it was somebody that had already played before, and all you guys are like, "Oh, that's Mia."
Pretty much, he's me playing. I mean, he's a very similar player to me, so maybe probably better, but just crazy and chaotic and bossy. So that's Mia. So that's what we can expect from Queen Janine, which is iconic. Let's talk about some more icons. We're getting down to icons only. Up next, we have Ken, who played in season 15 of Stranded and has come back a few times and done well every time. It does well every game she plays in. She'll be playing as Elle. Ken is someone who, you know, we have put up for a lot of All-Stars. I would say is pretty much a legend in Stranded, but, you know, is not quite there yet, but I think this will do it.
Well, I mean, you know, we played with her, and she is so likable, so easy to get along with. I think she's going to kill it this season, as she always does.
She is a fantastic player, like one of the best strategists probably and players in orgs.
She's another orgy person, right?
Correct. And she, you know, I think this is a good match. I think Elle was a good match. She's a competitor. She's very strategic and just a solid, not someone who I would say is like a huge character, but someone who is a fantastic player. I mean, if you're looking to get a masterclass on playing an online game, this is the person to watch. So we're very excited for that. I think all these old schoolers have played so many games and they're all so good at them. It's just going to be interesting to see them with the new kids and the different energy. It's going to be fun, I think. Up next, we have Benry from season 14, who will be playing as Tegan. Benry's now gender fluid. It goes by they, them, I believe. I think they'll be great. Benry was someone who, in their season, they came in second, I believe, but it was like a slam dunk case. And since then, they've played in countless games and he's like insane in most of them. So I'm super excited to see what they do here.
Yeah, that's how I know Cody. I have no idea how they've done in Stranded, but I love Cody. I think that I've never actually played with them, but I think that I know they do really well in games. Have you played with them, Danny?
No, but I have heard a lot of good things.
Yeah, I mean, this is someone who's been playing orgs forever. I mean, she was in an old season of Stranded, so they, you know, and then I think they came back for season 18 and did well again, but we'll see. It's been a long time. You know, they were saying how now that they're much more cracked and they want to reflect that in Stranded, so I'm excited for that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. A lot of cool vets here. Speaking of cool vets who've played in a ton of games, up next we have Dave Ball, who's played by Ubla's Rob. He is 33 years old and was in season 13 of Stranded, and then came back for season 18, I believe.
20. I was in that season.
And 20.
He was there for a weekend, and like he made such a big impression on me. I was crushed when he left.
He's an icon. I've known him probably longer than almost maybe anyone in online gaming because he came from, I believe, the same like forum that I started out on, which was like survivorthailand.com. If that can date how long ago this was. So yeah, I've known him for like 20 years. I'm super excited for this. I think when they were in Stranded, he didn't make a huge. I mean, obviously he was an all-star, so we brought him back, but he never made like that legend status of someone that we really remembered and like had to have back. So I'm excited to see him here. I think he's in other series he's been completely cracked, and he wanted to play someone who was a little cracked. He wants to play a shtick, so gave him Nova, who he said he's going to be an absolute slut with. So that will be fun. I think he's going to be. This is going to be the season where we see this person become a stranded legend.
He's another one of the teachers, right? Like he's a teacher, right?
I don't know. I don't know too much about his.
That's what I think I remember about him. I think he's a teacher.
You know,
there's
it's
a couple
weird.
This season.
The older seasons, we never got super personal with people. There weren't instant messages. People didn't dox. So that's a new thing that people have brought into it. So that'll be really interesting. I think, and people will be hiding their identity, so can't give away too much. But I do think people will get to know people a lot more intimately than we have in the past. So I'm excited for that. Up next, we're getting to our final two players. Mikey B from season 9. He's also competed on The Amazing Race Canada. He was up for Tuamotu's, but couldn't play in that last minute. So we have him here. Very excited to see him play again. He was not the biggest character, but I mean, he's from season 9. So if he wants to play again, we got to give him a shot. I think this time he'll be I think the newer gameplay style will benefit some of the people that were lost in the forum private message system of yesteryear. I think the new instant messaging is going to bring out a lot of their personality, especially people who are more nuanced under the radar. So I'm very excited about Mikey B. He'll be playing as Simon. You guys don't remember anything about that because it was too long ago. But
yeah, I liked him on Amazing Race Canada, though.
Yeah, he was on Cataly's original season. So there are a lot of people in that were cracked.
Danny, don't spoil that for me. I'm never going to watch it, but now I never will.
Why wouldn't you watch it? I didn't tell you how he did. I just liked him.
You said he won.
Oh, he didn't win.
Sorry.
I spoiled for you that he didn't win. Oops.
That sucks.
Well, very excited about that. I think even not knowing he was on a show, I would have had him back because if you've been out of Stranded for that long and you want to come back, that's a cool story in general. Anyone who's taken what are we talking, 11, 12-year layoff of Stranded, that's cool. I'll have them come back. So I'm excited about Simon. Again, big, wide variety of players this season. And about as wide as you can get, no pun intended. Up next, we have King Rudy from season 1 of Stranded. 14 years later, almost to the dot, he's coming back as Sharn. I did not expect Rudy to say yes. Of course, I ask him any chance I can.
Isn't this going to tie him with Katie?
Probably. I mean, Rudy's an icon. I mean, he's Stranded royalty, Stranded forefather, Stranded king at this point. He brings the drama every time. He plays well every time. Last we saw him was in Revenge, and I think he was in the final 3. No, he was final.
No,
what was he in?
That was final 5, final 6.
Okay, I knew it was close. I feel like if he made final 3, he would have won. So I knew that wasn't right when I said it. Yeah, so Rudy is a fantastic player, all around good guy. He still hangs around Stranded, still gets involved, still loves to pop in every now and then.
His blog.
He still shouts out his blog.
I know his blog. I read it every time he posts it.
Yeah, shout out Rudy's blog. Get him at Cho. That's what he wants to go by now. His YouTube handle, I guess. He'll be playing Sharn. Of course, he has to be in if he wants in. Any season Rudy wants in.
I've played with him so many times, and he is a major character. He loves to tell you how many times he's played Stranded. So I think this is going to kill him this season.
Yeah, that's what he was famous for in Revenge, was giving everyone his resume of how he was the king and how many times he played and who he played with, and how is he going to hide that this season?
I know.
But either way, you got to have Rudy. I mean, come on, it's season 1. Anyone from season 1's coming back wherever they want to play.
2-time Sharn for his rep, I think, is going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, super excited.
And it'll be so funny to watch somebody with personality play.
You're breaking up again.
It was actually me just scratching I was talking.
No, you're breaking up.
Still?
Say something more than still.
Nofo, you're
yeah, you're still breaking.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
We're about to close this out. Overall, the season is, I don't know what will happen. It's a clusterfuck.
It's a great cast.
It's a fantastic cast. it's a bit of a hodgepodge, as was the first one, I think. And we see how that turned out. Everyone on that season became icons in Stranded, and I expect the same out of these people. So high expectations. I think it'll be fun. It's a different game than that.
Well, I think having low expectations for the players just gives them more room to impress you.
Yes. And this is the season to do it. So I'm interested in that. When we invented Austranded, it was after the 30th season of Stranded. We had to do something different. So this is the continuation of that. I really enjoyed Austranded, so I'm hopeful that this will continue in its footsteps. So it's getting late. We have a lot to do before tomorrow, so I'm going to call it a day, but looking forward to it. Bye.
Bye, everybody.